The night was cold and the wind was sharp. Rain fell like silver needles from the black sky. A small figure walked slowly along the empty road, her feet bare, her silver-blue skin glowing faintly in the dark. She was not human. She was an alien child. No older than 10 in human years, her name was Lyra. Lyra's stepmother had dragged her out of their hover car, shouting cruel words that cut deeper than the cold wind. "You are a curse," the woman screamed. "You are not even one of us." Then she pushed Lyra onto the muddy road and drove away. Leaving her alone under the rain, Lyra called out. But the only answer was the echo of the storm, her silver tears mixed with the raindrops shining as they hit the ground. Lyra had been adopted by humans when her real parents died in an accident on a cargo ship between worlds. Her stepmother never liked her glowing eyes or the small blue marks that appeared on her skin when she was scared. Her father had loved her, but he had vanished months ago on a space mining mission. Now she had no one, as she walked. The rain turned heavier. The road was dark and long. Stretching into endless shadows, she tried to hide under an old transport sign. Hugging her knees tightly, her stomach growled. She hadn't eaten all day. Her small hands trembled as she tried to stay warm. Far away, an old human truck came down the road, its lights cutting through the storm. The driver, a middle-aged man named Eli, was on his way home from the city scrapyard. He was poor, working long hours to survive, but he had a big heart. When his headlights caught the sight of a small glowing figure by the roadside, he pressed the brakes hard. The truck slid a little on the wet road and stopped just a few feet away. Eli opened the door and stepped out, pulling his old coat tight around him. He walked closer, squinting through the rain. "What in the stars?" he muttered. Lyra looked up with wide glowing eyes, her lips shaking. "Please, don't hurt me," she whispered. Her voice was weak, almost lost in the sound of the storm. Eli's eyes softened. "I won't hurt you, kid," he said gently, kneeling down. "What happened to you?" She didn't answer, only hugged herself tighter. Eli could see bruises on her small arms and the marks of cold. He sighed, his heart heavy. He knew what it meant to be abandoned. He had once been an orphan too. Without thinking much, he took off his coat and wrapped it around her. "Come on," he said softly. "You'll freeze out here." Lyra hesitated. Staring at him, she could feel warmth in his voice, something she hadn't felt in a long time. Slowly, she let him help her up. He carried her to the truck and sat her inside. Turning up the old heater, steam rose from her wet hair, and she looked around the rusty cabin with curious eyes. "Who are you?" she asked quietly. "Name's Eli," he replied, smiling faintly. "And you?" "Lyra," she said. "My stepmother left me here." Eli felt anger rise inside him. "Left you here? In this storm?" "That's no mother," he said. Shaking his head, Lyra looked down, tears running again. Eli sighed and handed her a piece of bread from his lunchbox. "Eat," he said. "We'll figure things out in the morning." As she ate slowly, Eli started the truck again. The wipers moved back and forth, fighting the rain. Outside, the world was dark and endless, but inside the small truck, something new was beginning. A fragile bond between a human and a lonely alien child. Neither of them knew that this meeting would change not only their lives, but the fate of two worlds. Far above the clouds, hidden eyes watched them through a silent drone. Someone somewhere was tracking the lost alien girl. And they were not happy that a human had found her first. The storm had passed, but the road still smelled of rain. Eli's old truck rattled through the early dawn. Carrying the strange little girl who glowed softly even in sleep, Lyra's head rested against the window, her breathing calm but shallow. Eli glanced at her again and again, still not sure if what he saw was real. "An alien child," he whispered to himself, gripping the steering wheel. "What have I gotten myself into?" He drove toward his small house on the edge of the scrapyard, a place where no one came unless they had broken machines or broken dreams. The rising sun cast a golden glow over the wrecked ships and rusted metal piles. To most people, this place was garbage, but to Eli it was home. When the truck stopped, Lyra woke up slowly, her bright eyes reflecting the sunlight like twin moons. "Where are we?" she asked softly. "My place," Eli said. "Not much, but it's safe." He helped her out of the truck and guided her toward the small metal cabin that stood between the wrecks. The door creaked as it opened, showing a small room with a heater, an old bed and shelves filled with tools. Lyra looked around with wide eyes, touching everything as if it was from another world. And maybe it was. Eli gave her an old blanket and a warm drink. She sat by the heater, her hands shaking as she held the cup. Her blue skin shimmered slightly under the light. Eli watched quietly, then asked, "So, who are you really, kid?" Lyra hesitated, her voice trembling. "I am not from Earth," she said. "My parents, they came from another planet called Virene." Eli raised an eyebrow, but he didn't laugh. He had seen strange things during his life, working near crashed ships. He nodded slowly. "And your stepmother?" Lyra looked down, her eyes filling with tears. "She hated me because I was different," she whispered. "When my father disappeared, she said I was a bad omen." Eli sighed deeply. He didn't know what kind of world would abandon a child like her, but he could see the pain was real. "Don't worry," he said gently. "You're safe here." Lyra, for the first time in many nights, she smiled, small and shy but real. Outside, the scrapyard buzzed quietly, but above the clouds, hidden satellites zoomed in closer, tracking the faint energy signal from Lyra's body. On a dark ship orbiting Earth, a group of unknown figures watched the screen. "She's alive," one of them said. "We must retrieve her before the humans find out." Their leader, with cold metallic eyes, nodded. "Send a retrieval unit, but be silent. No one must know she exists." Back on Earth, Lyra wandered outside the cabin, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face. Eli was fixing a broken robot arm nearby. She tilted her head curiously. "You fix machines?" "Yeah," he said with a small smile. "It's how I survive." She crouched beside him, watching every movement. "I used to watch my father fix starship panels," she said. "He said machines have hearts too, they just beat differently." Eli looked at her, surprised by her words. "Your father sounds like a smart man," he said. Lyra nodded, then her expression turned sad. "I wish I knew where he is." Eli wanted to say something comforting, but before he could, his repair drone started blinking red. He frowned. "That's odd. Someone's scanning this area." Lyra's heart skipped. "Scanning?" she repeated, her voice trembling. Eli stood up, looking toward the horizon. A strange hum filled the air, low and mechanical. Then, a flash of blue light appeared in the sky for a second and vanished. Lyra backed away, fear in her glowing eyes. "They found me," she whispered. Eli turned toward her. "Who?" "The hunters," she said, her voice breaking. "They want to take me back. Or erase me." Eli felt a chill run down his spine. He had just taken in a child, and now something from the stars wanted her dead. He stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Not while I'm breathing," he said firmly. "You're not going anywhere." The hum grew louder again, echoing over the scrapyard. Eli grabbed his old blaster from the toolbox, dusted and rusty but still working. Lyra watched him, her fear mixing with hope. For the first time, she wasn't completely alone, and somewhere deep inside her glowing heart, a spark of courage began to burn far above. The dark ship adjusted its course. The retrieval unit was on its way, and neither the human nor the alien child knew. The next night would change everything. Night came again, heavy and silent. The scrapyard that was once full of soft machine hums now felt like a graveyard of metal. Eli couldn't sleep. Every sound outside made him tense. He checked the old blaster again and again, making sure it was ready. Something was coming. He could feel it. Lyra sat by the heater, her silver blue skin glowing softly in the dark. She looked small and fragile, but her eyes carried deep fear. "They are close," she whispered. Eli looked up. "How do you know?" "My body feels their energy," she said quietly. "They were made to find my kind." Eli walked to the window and peered outside. Nothing but shadows and junk piles. Still, the air felt strange, heavy. Like it was holding its breath, he turned to Lyra. "If they come, we run to the back gate, got it?" She nodded silently. Clutching his coat around her shoulders, suddenly, a faint humming sound broke the silence. A glowing sphere appeared above the scrapyard, moving slowly like a ghost, then another and another, until the night sky shimmered with blue lights. Lyra gasped. "They found us." Eli grabbed her hand. "Move," he said, pulling her toward the back. They ran through the maze of wrecked ships and robot shells. The ground was wet, the air thick with electricity. The lights followed, weaving through the scrap like hunting eyes. Eli ducked behind a fallen cargo pod, his breath short. Lyra crouched beside him, trembling. The lights stopped moving. Then a tall metallic figure landed on the ground with a deep thud. Its armor gleamed silver black, its face hidden behind a mirror visor. A deep, robotic voice spoke. Target located, Vereen child detected. Lyra pressed her hands over her mouth to keep from crying out. Eli's heart pounded, but his mind was sharp. He whispered, "Stay low," and peeked around the corner. The hunter raised a scanner, the light sweeping across the scrap piles. Eli picked up a loose metal pipe and threw it across the yard. The clatter echoed, drawing the hunter's attention. The machine turned and moved toward the sound. Its boots crushing the wet ground, Eli pulled Lyra the other way. Crawling through a broken ship hull, they reached a small tunnel that led to an old underground storage area. Eli yanked open the hatch and helped Lyra down as he followed. A blast of blue energy hit the wall above them. Spraying sparks, they fell into the dark below. Landing hard on dusty metal, Lyra coughed, her glowing eyes wide. "They will not stop," she said. "They never stop." Eli caught his breath, holding the blaster tight. "Then we'll give them a reason to stop," he said, determination burning in his voice. Above them, the hunters scanned the area. "Human interference detected," one said. "Neutralize if necessary," replied another. They moved in formation, cold and efficient, their glowing eyes searching every shadow down below. Lyra's small hands began to shimmer with light. Eli turned to her. "What are you doing?" "My father taught me something," she whispered. "Energy calling?" Her palms glowed brighter. Lighting up the tunnel walls, strange symbols appeared in the air, forming a soft humming circle. Eli stared, speechless. A wave of warmth spread through the air. The machines above paused, their scanners glitching. "Signal interference detected," one said, its voice crackling. Eli realized what she was doing. She was hiding them. Her power cloaked their life signs from the hunters. When the humming stopped, Lyra collapsed into his arms. Exhausted, Eli held her carefully, his voice gentle. "You did good, kid. You did good." He listened. The hunters' sounds grew distant. Fading into the night, finally silence returned. Eli sat there for a long time, holding the sleeping alien child. He looked up through a small crack in the metal ceiling. Stars blinked faintly through the smoke. He had never cared about the universe before, but now it felt personal. He had something to protect, something worth fighting for far away, aboard the dark ship orbiting Earth. The commander watched the interference signal fade. "Strange," he muttered. "A human helped her." "Interesting." He turned to his second officer. "Send word to the council. The Vereen child is not alone anymore." His metallic eyes gleamed. "And that makes her dangerous back on Earth?" Eli whispered softly. "Whatever you are, Lyra, I won't let them take you." Outside, the broken machine stood silent under the stars, but deep within their rusted shells, something faintly began to pulse, as if the scrapyard itself had just taken a breath. The night turned quiet after the hunters left, but quiet did not mean safe. Deep inside the scrapyard's underground room, small sparks glowed where Lyra had touched the metal. The walls hummed softly like something alive was listening. Eli sat beside the sleeping child, his blaster resting across his knees. He couldn't stop thinking about what he had just seen. A little alien girl, glowing like a star, hiding them from machines built to kill. She was no ordinary child. That much was clear. The air shifted, a faint vibration ran through the floor. Eli frowned and looked around. "Now what?" he murmured. One of the broken droids nearby twitched, its single eye flickering red, then another and another soon. The whole room filled with soft clicks and mechanical whispers. Lyra stirred and opened her glowing eyes. Her voice was weak. "They heard me." "Who?" Eli asked quickly, gripping his blaster. "The machines," she whispered. "They can feel the Vereen energy." My signal woke them. The broken robots began to move slowly, rising from years of dust and silence. Their joints creaked, their lights flickered. But instead of attacking, they all turned toward Lyra. She stood weakly, the faint glow from her hands spreading like ripples through the air. Eli backed away slightly, unsure if he should run or watch. The old scrapyard bots gathered around her in a half circle, their metal heads lowered as if in respect. Lyra's voice became calm, almost melodic. "They are responding to me," she said. "They were forgotten. Like me." Eli watched, stunned. One small cleaning bot rolled forward, its speaker crackling. "Unit, ready?" it said in a broken voice. Lyra smiled gently. "I won't hurt you," she said softly. Her light pulsed again, brighter this time. Every dead circuit in the room came alive. Above ground, the effect spread. Lights flickered across the scrapyard. power surging through cables long thought dead. Rusty drones lifted from the ground, scanning the horizon. The entire place, once silent and lifeless, began to hum like a breathing beast. Eli stepped outside, staring in awe as the machines lit up one by one. "What did you do, kid?" he whispered. Lyra stood behind him, her glow softer now. "I didn't mean to," she said. "But my energy, it connects with machines." Eli turned to her slowly, realization dawning. "You're controlling them." "No," she said gently. "They are choosing to listen." Far above Earth, the alien ship's alarms blared. "Unregistered energy surge detected on planetary surface," a voice said. The commander stood, eyes narrowing. "That power is Virine, a full resonance level," he growled. "If the child reaches signal maturity, she could wake more than machines. She could wake the core." Back on Earth, Eli was trying to shut off the power surge. "Your signal's attracting attention," he said. "If they pick this up—" "They already have," Lyra interrupted softly, her eyes glowing brighter. Eli froze, then heard it, the distant thunder of engines in the sky. "Hunter ships," she whispered. "More are coming." The machines in the scrapyard whirred and clicked, turning toward the sound. Eli realized they weren't scared, they were waiting. Lyra looked at them with a mix of fear and wonder. "They want to protect us," she said. "They are alive because of me." Eli clenched his jaw, his human heart racing. "Then we'll fight together," he said, human and machine. "For one little alien girl." Lyra looked up at him, her eyes bright with emotion. "Nobody ever fought for me before," she whispered. Eli smiled faintly. "Well, get used to it." In the sky, blue lights appeared again, this time larger and faster. Dozens of hunter drones descended through the clouds, scanning and locking onto the scrapyard below, but something unexpected happened. The old machines that once lay dead began to rise. Tall loaders, battle droids, mining bots. Their eyes glowed the same soft blue as Lyra's. And when the hunters fired their first shots, the scrapyard came alive with fire and fury. Metal crashed against metal. Sparks flew into the night. Eli fired from behind cover. His blaster flashing red, Lyra stood at the center, glowing like a small sun, guiding the machines without words. The air filled with smoke and light. Every move she made was echoed by a dozen robots, protecting her like guardians from another world. Above, the commander watched through his drone feed. "She's activating the ancient link," he muttered. "Just like her father." His cold eyes narrowed. "We cannot let her awaken the core. Prepare the descent team down below." As the last hunter drone fell smoking to the ground, Eli rushed to Lyra. She was trembling, her glow fading fast. "You did it," he said. Holding her steady, Lyra looked up weakly. "It's not over," she whispered. "They're coming." Themselves. Eli looked toward the dark horizon. Thunder rolled again, but this time it wasn't the sky. It was something much bigger, moving from orbit, and as the ground trembled under their feet, Eli finally understood. This was no small rescue. This was the beginning of a war. The sky turned red before dawn at first. Eli thought it was another sunrise, then the light began to move, spreading like fire across the clouds. The machines around the scrapyard froze, their sensors pointing upward. Even the air felt heavy, charged with something ancient and powerful. Lyra stepped outside, her small frame glowing softly in the red mist. "They're here," she whispered, her voice trembling. Eli followed, his eyes wide as he saw massive shadows breaking through the clouds. Dark ships, shaped like blades, cutting through the morning light. "They came for you," he said quietly. "No," Lyra answered, her voice suddenly firm. "They came for Earth." The ground shook as one of the ships landed beyond the scrapyard hills. Dust and fire rolled through the air. The old robots around them buzzed, waiting for Lyra's command. She looked at them, her glowing hands shaking. "I don't want more death," she said softly. Eli placed a rough hand on her shoulder. "Sometimes we fight so others can live." From the dust, tall figures appeared, armored hunters walking in formation, but at their center was a taller one, his armor black and marked with symbols Lyra remembered from her childhood. She gasped, "That's Commander Kor. You know him?" Eli asked quickly. "He was my father's second," she whispered. "He betrayed him." Kor's voice boomed across the field. "Metallic and cold, child of Virine," he said. "You do not belong among humans." Eli stepped forward, blaster in hand. She belongs wherever she chooses. Kor tilted his head, amused. A human protecting a Vereen? Interesting. Lyra's glow brightened. You destroyed my family, she shouted. I preserved our power, Kor replied. Your father was weak. He believed in peace. Peace is not weakness, she cried. It's strength you'll never understand. At her words, the scrapyard machines powered up again. Metal giants rising from piles of junk. Their eyes glowed blue, waiting. Kor raised his hand. Eliminate them! The air exploded with light. Blaster fire streaked across the yard. Machines clashing with hunters in bursts of sparks. Eli dove behind a broken engine, firing at the armored soldiers. Lyra stood in the center again, her light pulsing with every beat of her heart. When she raised her hands, the machines moved like an army. Every motion of hers was answered by steel and flame. Kor advanced through the chaos, blocking fire with a glowing energy shield. You cannot win, child, he said. You are incomplete, Lyra's eyes flashed. Maybe, but I am not alone. She reached for Eli. Her energy spreading through the ground. The machines roared as one, their engines burning brighter than ever before. Eli felt the vibration under his feet. It was like the planet itself was waking up. The old scrapyard glowed with lines of blue light forming strange patterns across the ground. What's happening? He shouted. Lyra's voice was distant. The Kor is answering me. Kor stopped, his face hidden but his tone sharp with fear. No, that's impossible, he hissed. The Kor sleeps beneath this world, Lyra said softly. My father told me its song never dies. Kor fired at her. But the energy blast curved away, dissolving into light before it reached her. Eli's machines pushed the hunters back. But the battle was far from over. Kor called for reinforcements. His ship above opening like a metal flower. Hundreds of drones poured out. Darkening the sky, Lyra stumbled, her glow flickering. There are too many. Eli grabbed her arm. Then we need a miracle. And that miracle came from beneath. The ground split open with a thunderous crack, light pouring from below. From the depths rose a colossal shape, not metal, not flesh, something ancient and beautiful. It looked like a machine but moved like it was alive. A deep, resonant hum filled the air. Every creature, human or alien, paused in silence. Lyra stared in awe, her voice a whisper. The Kor Guardian. Eli stepped back, eyes wide. You woke it. The Guardian's eyes glowed the same blue as Lyra's. It turned its massive head toward her and spoke in a low, echoing tone. Child of Vereen, the time has come. Kor's voice shook with rage. Destroy it! But before his drones could move, the Guardian raised a hand. A single pulse of energy spread through the air. Every drone froze mid-flight. Every blaster stopped firing. The world went silent. Only Lyra's heartbeat echoed in the air. The Guardian lowered its gaze. Your father's light lives in you, it said. But your path is not yet complete. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. Then help me protect them. Eli stood beside her. Gripping his blaster tightly, Kor stepped back, fear finally breaking through his metallic calm. This is not over, he growled. Signaling his retreat, the dark ships began to rise, vanishing into the clouds once more. When it was over, the scrapyard lay in ruins. Smoke and light drifted over the twisted metal. Eli sat on the ground, exhausted. Lyra stood beside the Guardian, her small hand resting on its glowing arm. She looked down at Eli and smiled softly. You believed in me when no one else did, she said. He smiled weakly. Guess I'm stubborn like that. The Guardian looked toward the stars. They will return, it warned, and next time, they will bring the storm. Lyra nodded slowly. Then we'll be ready. Eli rose to his feet, determination in his eyes. Human and alien side by side, he said. Let them come. The wind carried their words into the glowing sky, and somewhere deep beneath the earth the Kor began to hum again, its ancient voice whispering to the stars. The war for the future had only begun. The ruins of the scrapyard still smoked under the morning sun. Metal bodies lay broken, sparks still glowing faintly in the dust. Eli stood on a hill of wreckage, watching the light rise over the horizon. Beside him, Lyra stood silent, her eyes reflecting both fire and hope. For the first time in her life, she wasn't running, she was standing her ground. And beside her stood a human, stubborn, brave, and full of heart. The Kor Guardian rested deep below the earth, its voice now a distant hum, but its words still echoed in Lyra's mind. Your path is not yet complete. Eli turned to her, brushing dust from his hands. We can't fight them alone, he said. Next time, they'll come with an army. Lyra nodded slowly. Then we'll build one of our own. He gave a small smile. I like the sound of that. They began gathering what they could from the ruins. Broken drones, engine parts, old communication tech. Lyra's energy pulsed softly through her hands, repairing circuits and waking machines. Eli used his human skill, fixing, welding, connecting old systems to new ones, piece by piece. The scrapyard started to live again, but this time it wasn't just a junkyard. It was becoming something greater, a refuge, a base, a spark of rebellion. Machines once built for war now stood in lines, silent and loyal. They weren't weapons anymore. They were allies. Lyra looked around, her heart swelling with something new. This is not just for me, she said softly. This is for all who were forgotten. Eli placed a hand on her shoulder. For all who were thrown away, he added. They both smiled faintly, sharing a quiet moment between the noise of rebirth. That night, Lyra stood beneath the stars. She raised her hand and closed her eyes. Her glow reached into the sky like a signal, a soft blue beam fading into the dark far across the void. Somewhere beyond the edge of Earth's orbit, something answered, a faint echo and another signal. Replying with warmth and strength, Lyra gasped. They're out there. Eli looked up. Who? Other Vereen. Survivors, she whispered, her eyes shining with tears. My father wasn't the only one. The next morning, their hope turned into a plan. Eli worked on building a long-range beacon using old satellite parts. Lyra linked her power into the system, boosting its range far beyond human capacity. When it came online, the beacon sent a pulse through the stars, a message. It wasn't a call for war, but a call for unity. To all who can hear this, the child of Vereen lives and the human world stands with her. Across the galaxy, small outposts heard the signal. Hidden Vereen refugees looked up from their hiding places. Old space colonies, long silent, came back online. The spark of resistance began to spread, but not all who heard it were friends. On the command ship orbiting a dead moon, Kor listened in silence. So, he said coldly, the girl seeks allies. His lieutenant bowed. Yes, Commander. And some are answering. Kor smiled beneath his mask. Then let them come. We will crush them all at once, back on Earth. Lyra felt the presence of those who answered her call. Dreams filled her mind. Faces she didn't know. Voices that whispered courage, and in one vision she saw her father. Standing among stars, do not fear the darkness, he said. Even shadows need light to exist. She woke with tears in her eyes. Eli was already awake, tightening bolts on a repaired transport ship. You look like you saw a ghost, he said with a grin. Lyra smiled faintly. Maybe I did. For days they worked. Humans and machines side by side. The scrapyard became a fortress of light and steel. Every sound, every spark carried purpose. Eli taught the machines tactics, human creativity mixed with alien precision. Together they built something new, something no one had seen before. An alliance of flesh and metal. By the end of the week, the stars above Earth flickered strangely. New signals appeared, friendly ships approaching. Lyra felt it before the sensors did. They're coming, she whispered. Our allies. Eli stood beside her as light streaked across the sky. Small ships, patched and worn but real. They landed one by one around the scrapyard. From them stepped different kinds of beings. Humans from colonies. Androids and Vereen survivors. They looked at Lyra, then at Eli, and silently bowed. For the first time, she didn't feel alone. She felt part of something far greater. Eli looked around at the mix of strangers and smiled. Well, kid, he said, looks like your family just got bigger. Lyra laughed softly. Our family, she corrected. But even as laughter and hope filled the air, the Kor Guardian's voice echoed faintly from below. Be swift, child of Vereen, it said. For the darkness gathers again. Lyra's smile faded, her glow dimming with concern. She looked toward the horizon where storm clouds formed once more. They're coming back, she whispered, and this time, they're bringing everything. The sky above Earth turned silver before the storm. Stars flickered like candles ready to be blown out. Every radio, every screen, every beacon whispered the same warning. They're coming, Commander Kor's fleet was descending. And this time, the whole sky belonged to him. Eli stood on the tower made from scrap metal and courage. The scrapyard had become a fortress, not of walls, but of will. Machines lined up in formation, their blue eyes shining like stars on Earth. Humans, androids, and Vereen stood shoulder to shoulder. Different worlds, one heartbeat. Lyra walked among them, her small steps leaving trails of light on the ground. She had grown since that rainy night when Eli found her on the roadside. Her glow was no longer faint. It was alive, fierce, warm, and full of purpose. The core beneath the ground hummed softly, its ancient energy pulsing with her own. She was not just the child of Vereen anymore. She was the bridge between worlds. Everyone ready? Eli called out, his voice strong, though his heart raced. The soldiers cheered, the machines roared. Lyra looked up at him and smiled. "I'm glad I met you, Eli." He grinned. "Hey, don't say goodbye yet," she laughed softly. But in her eyes he saw something, peace mixed with sorrow. Thunder rolled through the sky. Core's flagship broke through the clouds like a falling city. Its shadow swallowed the sun from its sides. Hundreds of hunter drones poured out. The war for Earth had begun. Lasers cut the air. Fire rained from above. Eli shouted orders, his voice echoing through the battlefield. The machines fought like waves, guided by Lyra's energy. Every pulse of her light gave them strength. Every breath she took became a command. Core's voice boomed across the comms. "Child of Vereen, surrender, and I will spare the humans." Lyra stood tall, her glow bright enough to cut through the smoke. "You never understood, Core," she said. "You can't kill what's already free." The Guardian's voice rose from below the earth, its massive form emerging through fire and dust. "Protect the light," it thundered. Lyra lifted her hands and the sky itself answered. A beam of energy burst upward, striking Core's ship with blinding brilliance. The ship shuddered, but Core stood at the command bridge. Unmoved, he turned to his soldiers. "Fire the core disruptor." A dark sphere opened beneath the ship, glowing red like a wound in space. The weapon aimed at Earth's surface and at Lyra. Eli saw it too late. "Lyra!" he shouted, running toward her. She looked back, smiling gently. Her voice was calm. "It's okay." "Eli!" He stopped, shaking his head. "No, don't." But she was already glowing brighter than ever. Her small hands reached toward the sky. The energy of the core beneath the earth rose to meet her. Blue and white light spiraled around her body. Machines knelt, humans shielded their eyes. Her voice echoed like a song made of stars. "This world gave me a home," she said. "Now I give it my heart," the core guardian roared. A surge of power exploded upward. The dark weapon above shattered like glass. Core screamed as his flagship cracked under the light. Every drone in the sky burned with blue fire before falling silent. When the light faded, the sky was clear. The war was over. Eli opened his eyes slowly. Smoke curled into the air, and silence spread across the battlefield. He searched for Lyra, calling her name, but she was gone. Only a faint glow remained on the ground. A soft blue crystal. Pulsing like a heartbeat, Eli picked it up, holding it gently in his calloused hands. The Guardian's voice echoed softly. She became the light. She saved them all. Tears filled Eli's eyes. He looked at the sky and whispered, "You did it, kid." All around him, humans and machines stood in silence, then slowly, one by one, they bowed their heads not in grief but in respect. Days passed, and the world began to heal. The sky shone brighter. The machines built new homes beside humans, and in the center of the scrapyard stood a small statue, a girl of light, smiling gently. At night, the blue crystal inside her chest still glowed. It was said that when the wind blew through the metal, you could hear her voice, soft and kind. "Don't be afraid. We're all connected." Eli would sometimes sit by the statue. Looking up at the stars, he no longer felt small. He no longer felt alone because somewhere, among the endless lights of the galaxy, he knew a little alien girl was watching over them. Not as a child of another world, but as the last light of Vereen.